committee meeting. At this time, I'd like to call the meeting to order with a roll call of school committee members. Michelle Kirkby here.
Diana Frischella here.
Will Horn here.
Sophia Nicholas here.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to open public input. Members of the public are welcome to comment during the public input, either here or through Zoom. If you're on Zoom, please raise your Zoom hand. We ask that you keep your camera on when making a Zoom comment and that you follow school committee policy for public input, including speaking for no more than 3 minutes and only on topics under the purview of the school committee. And whether you're here in person or on Zoom, please state your name and address for the record.
Second Curve Street. I just, it's been interesting seeing all the feedback around the Metro West Adolescent Health Survey that's taking place tomorrow. I thought it was really important to voice my support for how important that survey is. I was involved on MCAP when it first was launched and helped Susan Cowell and the high school communicate the results of that. So the data from that is incredibly important. I would say that I also think it's equally important that when the results come out, that they are shared with the community as soon as possible. There has always been such a delay in that reporting. We get the results, the district gets results in the summertime, and a lot of districts report those results much sooner than we have ever done. So, I think if you take the time to educate the community about those results as soon as possible, and even remind them of the results before the survey goes out again, it will help with their understanding of how important that data is. So, and I would actually encourage you guys as a school committee to make that a goal for the superintendent to make sure that that happens on a regular basis. So, thanks.
Thank you.
I'm gonna turn it online.
There are people online, but no one is raising their hands.
Okay. All right, at this time, we will move on to.
Oh, wait, hold on.
Sorry.
Yep, sorry. Person raising their hand. So how do we?
You can bring them over?
Yep. We'll bring you over, Kaylin. She's over for now.
Hi,
Hi.
can you guys hear me?
Yes, GRS.
Kaylin, we can hear you.
Okay, Kaylin Caskey, 5 Delaware Road. I promise I will be short and sweet. Just wanted to continue to follow up on the standards-based reporting, constant back and forth, following up last week's meeting. Obviously, again, a freshman student got up just talking about the poll that was taken amongst 30 freshman students. Just wanted to throw out there, just to make it nice and cut and dry, nice and easy. I don't know what it would be in regards to union stuff or negotiation or anything, but can we just send out a survey for all middle school and high school teachers, and then a separate survey for maybe 8th grade through 12th grade students, because they have all been through the standards-based reporting and transition into the high school, and just get a blanket opinion there, a current opinion, not going back to 2023 where there were surveys done for the strategic plan of teachers' opinion, parent opinion, and student opinion, and just get a present day opinion, especially from the teachers. And that's all. Love to just throw that out there.
All right, thanks, Kaylin.
Thanks.
Anything else? No?
Nope.
Okay. All right, moving on to hello, Leah. Moving on to the consent agenda, Dr. Marsden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So we have a few items on the consent agenda tonight. Approval and retention of the 10/23 executive session minutes, approval of the 10/23 regular meeting minutes, disposal of outdated curriculum materials. You'll see in your materials, you had an inventory of the outdated items that you donated to Bay State Books. Christine and her staff did a lot of work on that to put that together. So those are old books and old materials that no longer align with our curriculum, what we use. And then we have some donations as well. $2,720.84 from Shutterfly Life Touch to deposit in the Medfield High School gift account. $2,621.58 from Shutterfly to be deposited in the Blake Middle School gift account. $1,000 from Blake PTO to be deposited into the Blake gift account for Heather Gonzalez, grant guest speaker. $230 from Blake PTO to be deposited into Blake gift account, for Nate Walkowitz grant, Blake script writers. I ask that you approve those as presented.
Does anybody have any questions about anything in the consent agenda or want anything removed? Okay, do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda as stated?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, passes. All right, going on to new business, the elementary principal's opening report. Dr. Marsden.
Madam Chair, we have our elementary principals here as they do their yearly opening report. I know we're a little bit late on that, but we broke up secondary and elementary again this year. So Steve, Missy, and Kevin, welcome, Kevin. This is his first school committee meeting here, so welcome.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Thank you so much for inviting Kevin, Steve, and I here tonight to share a little bit about the opening of the 2025-2026 school year. It's my pleasure to say that things at the opening went very well, very smoothly. Students and staff returned refreshed, excited, and eager to start the year. And as always, it would be remiss if we did not thank and recognize the office staff at each building, our tech department, custodial staff, nurses, and teaching staff, as well as the central office staff, who all contributed to the opening of schools. We know that it takes a village, and without the efforts of all of these people, we would not have been able to have a smooth opening. Enrollment at elementary levels are as follows. At this time, there are 40 preschoolers at Memorial, 151 kindergartners, and 190 first graders, for a total of 381 students. At Wheelock, there are 202 second graders, 187 third graders, and 9 preschoolers in the preschool class, for a total of 398 students enrolled. And at Dale Street, there are 204 fourth graders and 179 fifth graders, for a total of 383 students currently at Dale Street. With that being said, across the elementary levels, class size ranges on average between 17 students and 23 students per class at the elementary level. And with a very quick 2 months of school already in the books, things are definitely in full swing for us. Steve, Kevin, and I'd like to highlight just a few initiatives that are consistent across the 3 buildings to give you an idea of some of the great things that are happening this year. So Steve's going to start by talking about Parent Square.
Thanks, Miss. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for having us here tonight. As Missy alluded to, and I'm sure you heard from the middle and high school, this year we were introduced to Parent Square to streamline communication between the schools and the families. It allows the teachers and the staff to share updates, send direct messages, group messages, and manage communications all in one place. It has built-in translation for equitable access for all families. For parents, it centralizes messages, calendars, announcements for all their children in the schools. Families can choose how they receive the information via an app, email, or text. Messages can arrive in real time, or they can do what they call daily digest. The daily digest option delivers the non-urgent posts to the messages of families at about 6:30, 6:15, or 6:30. Families can also communicate directly with teachers and participate in the group messages as well. Currently, the engagement is strong for Parent Square within our schools. Memorial has 100% of families connected, with 67% using the app. Wheelock has 99.8% connected, with 67% as app users, and Dale Street has 100% connection with 66 app users. We're really encouraged by these numbers and how quickly families have jumped on to Parent Square and have embraced our new system. Parent Square offers many additional features that we'll continue to explore, such as conference signups, field trip permission slips, volunteer opportunities, payment collections as well. And I just special thanks to our technology integrationists, both Marissa Foley and Jill Hearn, who have really helped out. They ended up coming to open houses, not only their own schools, but at the middle and high school as well. So really appreciate them taking their own time to help move the program forward. So, and staff has been great with it as well as parents. So Parent Square is up and running, and it's been a really great platform to use. I'm going to turn it over to Kevin to talk about how elementary has moved to the new start times.
Thank you, Steve. First, take a moment. I want to thank everyone for an incredibly warm welcome to the Medfield Public Schools. It's been fantastic getting to know everybody. For start times, the arrival and dismissal times for all buildings have changed for the 2025-2026 school year. I'd like to begin by thanking everyone as we realize change is a process, and we have seen families, staff, students adjust to these earlier start times and dismissal times. Elementary age students are typically up and ready for learning earlier than middle and high school students. The new start time has allowed all 3 elementary schools to take advantage of more instruction in the morning during these prime time on learning hours before the lunch and recess blocks begin. Students have responded well so far. We're seeing them do really well in the morning and be ready to up and get going. The school hours for Dale Memorial and Wheelock are now 8 a.m. to 2:35 p.m. Students will have the same routine as in previous years with about 10 to 15 minutes of recess before school starts. Now, a new addition to the school day, in addition to the start end times, is an option for students to attend the Medfield Extended Day program from 2:35 to 4 p.m. This is a separate option from MAP for families that need childcare after school. Enrollment in the Extended Day program varies depending on the day. For example, Friday has the lowest attendance with 33 students, while 56 students attend on Thursdays. The option for an extended day is also available on early release days. So I'd like to hand it back to Steve to talk about an ELA pilot update.
So you may remember last year, the elementaries went with 2 pilots, and we couldn't get consensus between all the feedback that we had from teachers, parents, students. So this year they decided to try 2 different programs. So this year we have 19 teachers between the 3 elementary schools participating. Earlier in the fall, the group completed a pilot of a program called Bookworms, Reading and Writing Curriculum. So they finished that right in around Halloween. And now they have started this past week implementing HMH Interreading is the name of the program. Teachers who volunteered to do this work have been collaborating closely with our literacy coordinator, Jamie Callahan. Together, they've taken part in professional development. They've planned lessons. Collaboratively, each week they meet and talk about the program, the good sides of it and the areas for improvement. They also talk about the high level of engagement that the students are having, what's working well for them, what's maybe not working well. And they have modeled lessons for their colleagues, both in actual time with students and also in their common planning times as well. Throughout the process, they've been sharing regular feedback that will help guide the recommendation to Dr. Morrison and the school committee. We're incredibly grateful for all the teachers because it is a tough thing to come through to start the year and start with a couple new curriculums, but they've really jumped in with both feet. And I want to thank Dr. Morrison, Dr. Power, and also Jamie Callahan, because it's a tremendous amount of work to get it up and running. And anything that we've needed from all 3 schools, they've all been super supportive. So it's been up and running. We're excited to see, once the winter break comes, which direction, that the teachers will be making a recommendation for.
I'm going to talk a little bit about the Wayfinder program that has started this year. The Medfield Public Schools will continue the work from last year to support the social emotional needs of all students. Wayfinder is a research-backed curriculum chosen to be implemented at the start of this school year, the 2025-2026 year. Purpose, self-awareness, adaptability, empathy, collaboration, and agency are the 6 core skills at the foundation of Wayfinder. A group of staff began working with Christine Power over the summer to take a deeper dive into this Wayfinder content and created a framework for lessons, activities that will be implemented at each grade level. Then all staff participated in training before the start of the school year. It was truly amazing to see how staff were invested as they identified core concepts in the program, how activities could be done with children. The result of their work was a comprehensive pre-K to 12 curriculum map. The goal for each classroom was to participate in one lesson per week. The Wayfinder curriculum is primarily used in morning meetings in each classroom. However, we are quickly finding it can be used across many settings and for a variety of purposes. For example, in addition to classroom lessons, there are activities ranging from 1 to 3 minutes, depending on the desired skill to be taught. Staff have found these activities to be done while students are in line, at school assemblies, and specialist classes. We are truly scratching the surface of the Wayfinder possibilities. All this is possible. We're very grateful to Dr. Marsden, Dr. Power, Mrs. Brule, and all the staff for the support in this important initiative. And back to Missy.
So just a few highlights of the things that we're working on this year, but we wanted to make sure that we continue to mention how incredibly grateful we are to have the connections with the community organizations that we do. So each year MCP graciously offers to provide funds for grants for each of our elementary schools. Recently, grants have included sensory tools, professional development opportunities such as a recent brain gym training, enrichment experiences for students from the Discovery Museum, motivational programs, and learning tools, just to mention a few things. We're also very proud to work with CPAC, the Special Education Parent Advisory Council, providing various supports to families with students who have IEPs, 504s, as well as our general education students. They provide workshops to help families navigate the IEP process, as well as providing various other workshops and presenters to parents and guardians. And last, but certainly not least, the PTO is an incredible group of supported and dedicated parents and guardians who continue to support pre-K to 8 initiatives throughout the district through their tireless efforts, able to support field trips, cultural arts performers, staff grants, as well as other school events and needs throughout the year. They're also responsible for providing staff luncheons and stipends for teachers, which I know they are incredibly grateful for. We're so thankful for all of the efforts of the people who work in these organizations, and they are, as you know, incredible to support our school and our staff. So that concludes our presentation. We're off to a great start this year. We're looking forward to all that's to come between now and June, and given how fast the last 2 months have gone, I'm sure June will be here before we even know it. But we're happy to answer any questions that you might have.
I have a question about the ELA pilot. So I'm not an elementary school person, so I might just not really understand it all. But I guess my question is, like, I know that when my child was in a pilot last year, I don't remember which one. I just remember it was we talked a lot about corn, and he was done with that after a little while. But then like there's 2 different pilots this year, and I feel like before last year, at some point, like he was in another one, or maybe his friends were. And so I guess I'm just like curious about what the conversations are regarding like the changing of different curriculums and like the impact on like how are we looking at measuring growth for students? Are we concerned at all about, well, we did this curriculum last year, that now we have this curriculum, and you know, are they at the same level in terms of if they had a different curriculum last year? Do you know what I mean? Like it feels like a lot of change. Potentially, I know they're pilots, right? So some kid might not get a lot of change, but some kid might have changed for the last couple of years. So I'm just curious what that conversation looks like.
Yeah, I'll jump in. So yeah, great question. And I think that what happens is anytime, you know, there's a curriculum calendar that you're trying to do it. So you might be alluding to like the illustrative math, which was a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
We had piloted K through 5, which has been very successful. But what I would say is that no matter the programs, Jamie Callahan and Christine Powell work really hard to make sure all the standards are being met. So even if they're in a different program, they're still handling the same standards and strands that all the other kids are doing. So if they're doing narrative writing, the other group is doing narrative writing, but it might just be through the way that the program organizes the writing that they're doing. Or if they're looking at nonfiction texts, then that's what they're doing, you know, no matter what the classroom is. Looking at the numbers, whether it be the DIBEL scores or the STAR reading scores that we're going to be doing this year, or MCAS scores, we're always monitoring to make sure if there's any gaps in the curriculum. You know, I'm happy to say that those scores have been, you know, very good for us right now, but we're continuing to keep an eye on that because we don't want, if it's a program a new program for kids, we want to make sure that they're still growing just the same as everybody else. It's shown that it has been that way, thus far, but we're going to continue to keep an eye on it as well.
I would say the pilots are really structured, so to Steve's point around the standards. Jamie and Christine really worked hard to make sure that the standards are being covered, and it's not just. The pilot isn't just try what you want to do, it's like you're gonna do these lessons because it covers these standards, because it can, everyone else in the grade level is still doing those standards. You're just doing it with a different program. So it's super structured. They work real hard to get that done like that. I mean, we anticipated at the end of last year to to bring to you a program for language arts. It just didn't work out that way. And now with the legislation, that's kind of muddying the water a little bit for us again. So we're actually meeting about that next week to kind of look at, we got a lot of really good feedback on bookworms. So the state is kind of getting into the curriculum business and kind of saying, okay, well, if you're going to do this with based on science or reading or whatever, that these are the programs that we approve from DESE, and you got to choose some of those. I would say that, and I said this to some parents yesterday. Some of the programs that are there are very much like the programs we did in school, that I had in 1975. A very similar structure and how basal reader, that kind of thing, where we really want our kids to read full books and be immersed in language, immersed in what they're reading, and not just reading excerpts of books and answering some questions on it and moving on to the next one. Which unfortunately, some of the programs that we've seen that have been approved by the state are more that kind of structure. So we're gonna have a lot of conversation about it in the next few months. I'm hoping, I know Steve just said that hopefully this winter, I'm hoping it's done this winter too, but the other piece that we're gonna talk about in FY 27 is that when you adopt a new reading program, it costs a lot of money. And based on what the warrant committee has given us for a target, I'm not sure that fits in anywhere, so we'll have to kind of go through that too.
I also had a question on the ELA pilot. So understanding that we piloted 2 last year and they weren't quite the right fit, I'm assuming that we're coming in with kind of an interesting perspective in regards to what we're looking for. Are you able to talk a little about why those 2 weren't quite the right fit and what you're hoping these 2 bring to fill in whatever gaps those pilots didn't have?
That's a great question.
Kevin's off the hook on this one.
Very sure about that.
So because of the highly natured structure of the pilot, there was a tremendous amount of feedback that was gathered from both teachers and parents throughout the process on parents from those classrooms, obviously, regarding, kids' engagement level, skills learned, the structure of the lesson, the ease of following the plans, what was included, what wasn't included. So there were a lot of different areas that we were looking at. I wouldn't be fair for me to speak specifically to all of those areas. But I think what we determined overall was that the fit from a student engagement level was not there. And that, especially when we're talking about a major curriculum area, we want our kids to be engaged. We want them to love reading from all the way in K, all the way up, all the way forever. Because it's a lifelong skill. And I think that is probably one of the biggest factors that was not there for both of those programs. There were other little things, some things that were liked, some things that weren't liked, but really trying to make sure that our kids are engaged and wanting to, when that reading time comes, that they are excited about that and are getting everything that they can get between the program and what the teacher can bring.
And I think everyone knows this, we're not gonna find a perfect one.
Right.
There's gonna be areas that we're not happy with, and I think one of the things that we set down as a criteria is, can we use foundations? When we use foundations K-3, which is the phonemic awareness program that we've had great success with in district, we want to keep that. So we're looking at programs that may not be really strong on that because we already have that embedded in our curriculum, but we really want to focus in, as Missy said, the reading piece. And if kids aren't engaged, to Sophia's point about the corn, Steve, that was in your building, right? It was like weeks and weeks of corn, right? It was all looking at different things. And, I found it kind of interesting, but the kids definitely.
They were done.
Yeah, they definitely did not. So I think that's part of the conversation and getting the feedback from the students and the parents and the teachers. we got a lot of information and it was very clear that there were parts of both of them that just didn't fit the criteria in a way that if it's something small that we can get over, you know, that it's just something you just didn't like, but it was just major things like student engagement's a major piece, right? If we can't get past that, then we're not going to choose that curriculum. So that's why we ended up, and we visited other districts and took a look at what other people are using and got information from, like Boston uses the Wit and Wisdom, and that was one that I think people were looking at as well, but that had some issues around some of the DEI stuff that was in there that wasn't fit for, you know, different. So it was just a lot of stuff that wasn't perfect fit. And I think hopefully one of these two will be it. I worry about the budget. I worry about trying to incorporate that in the entire elementary school levels, given the cost of a new program. So it's kind of where we're at.
And then I think the perspective of someone new coming in, I would have to say a really big kudos to Medfield for not feeling that pressure to say we did a pilot and we have to pick a curriculum, because then it is a lot of money, it's a lot of time invested. So it's encouraging that it's being done right. And it's almost, from what I've heard from staff, is that this year is almost not a separate pilot, but just an extension of continuing to look at the programs that are the best fit. And what I'm seeing is that teachers and kids are excited to have books in kids' hands and that they're engaged. So I think it's a credit to Medfield that it didn't just say, okay, well, we have to pick one. Let's find the right one. And we seem to be heading in that direction.
To Kevin's point, we had conversations around, okay, we're not hurting kids here.
Right.
Like what we're doing right now, we're not hurting their development. We're not hurting their reading ability. Can we do better? Yeah, we can always do better. But that's kind of how we said we put the brakes on it. Let's do it all over again with two different other curricula, because it didn't make sense to jump on one because we went through that process, because what we're doing is still doing pretty well for Medfield kids. So
You guys have anything else? Great. Thank you guys so much.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much. Thanks for having us.
Okay, so unfortunately, Christine could not be with us this evening, so we are going to table the summer R&D report and the MCAS presentation until our December meeting. So that will, next two things are gone, then we'll go down to policy JG.
thank you, Madam Chair. So we have policy JG, which is informational this evening. It is the middle school pathway exploration policy that DESE is requiring us to do. This all came out of legislation around career pathways and the regional technical schools, that it was a concern around how they were choosing kids to get into their schools. And they've revised all of that. And then part of that was to make sure that schools, districts like ours were making sure that we give options to kids and that they understand what their options are for high school. It's not, they don't have to just go to Medfield High School. They can look at Tri-County. They can go to Norfolk Aggie. Like those are options that kids have. So we're all required to have this policy in place. So this is the first one that's informational. If you do remember that the DESE had brought this upon us and had a meeting with us in September. And they said that it needed to be done November 1st. So we had conversations, we meaning superintendents had conversations with DESE. They recognized that that was really an unrealistic goal for districts in the beginning of the year, especially with everyone has a different school committee process in which policies are approved, which ours is essentially almost, you know, informational and first reading, second reading, and vote. So everyone has that, right? So, but it's some, you know, machination of that. So we talked to them, DESE then put together a waiver, which MASS has told me that over 70% of districts have put in the waiver and were granted the waiver. We were granted the waiver. So our due date for this now is January 31st. And we're still working on the other competency determination that the subcommittee met on the other day. We're still working on that one. That one's due on December 31st. So I think we're in good shape, being this informational, and we have a few meetings to kind of work this through. But again, working with boilerplate language from MASC, and then, excuse me, my job elects the superintendents looking at it to make sure that everyone's kind of in terms of the regulations, that we're all right there. And I think this draft is really good. So at some point, subcommittee will have to take a look at that, you know, in the coming weeks, and then we'll definitely be in good shape for the 31st for submission on that.
Anyone have any comments or questions around policy JG?
It's essentially putting in writing, codifying what we do anyway, as far as giving kids opportunities to explore other pathways for high school.
On to policy ECAF.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So in your materials, you have a memo that talks a little bit about policy ECAF, security cameras in schools. And I'll read the memo just so everyone understands what we're talking about. As part of our commitment to ensuring student safety and a positive environment for all students, we are currently exploring the possibility of adding security cameras to our school transportation vehicles. This would allow us to better address issues that arise on school buses. It also serves as a proactive deterrent for unwanted behaviors. The building administrators that just left have been asking for this change for several years, and our bus company is also in favor of this change. So I will say that in our new bus contract, it is one of the provisions in the contract. It doesn't cost us anything more. The buses are all wired for it. They have the equipment. And looking at districts around us, Dover Sherburne was the only one at the elementary level that didn't have them yet, but they are also looking to add those. But every single district around has already added them for this year or have had them for years. So I just recommend that if we were to add, excuse me, in the first sentence of the third paragraph, it says, in pursuit of this objective, the school committee authorizes the use of security cameras in school district buildings, and then adding in red, school transportation vehicles, comma, in all its property to ensure the health, welfare, and safety of all students, staff, and visitors to deter theft, the rest of the policy. So it's just really adding that in there. But I'm happy to answer any questions or any comments on that, because we haven't put it together for informational yet. It's really just been this memo and something we'll have to talk about in the subcommittee as well.
The only question I had was if legal's gonna review it, just have them review the, if we need to mention adherence to state rules of a dual consent on the audio recording.
So there's no audio.
There can't be.
Yeah, there's no audio. Yeah, it's just, thank you for that. That's a good point. There's no audio. It's just, it's visual on that.
And would the cameras be for not just bringing students to and from school, but all like buses that are taking kids to sports and?
It would be on.
Right, anytime that we're using a school bus.
That's correct.
Okay. Which I think makes sense. I just wanted to make sure we were using it.
Yeah.
In all times.
Yeah, and according to Colleen and Michael, I mean, we're the only ones, right, in the area that.
Yeah, can I just add to that?
Sure, yeah.
They're also gonna have a camera, facing the dashboard, so if it gets in an accident, we'll have cameras to, use that.
Yeah.
Also.
So facing the road on the dashboard.
Facing the.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I just, we may want to review another policy around just retention policy of that kind of stuff, it's something we don't want to keep forever.
Right.
Legal implications.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, I think one of the things I would ask is that public, right? So the school, the bus company owns the bus and the cameras. But is that part of a public records request if someone asks for a video, right? So I probably want to ask that too.
This has come up, I'm trying to remember where it landed, so it has come up,
Mhm.
but because the space is in it, and they like released.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, so that's a good legal question.
I think also just, I don't know what the contract is with the bus, like with the, like in terms of the bus company owns it, but just if you request it, like what that. We've run into that, where
Right.
we've had to request from the bus company and it has not been easy.
Okay.
When we've had to do different investigations, so I wonder about that conversation too, because it has
Good point.
been a little bit.
Question. Because I spoke to other businesses that use the same company. And they haven't had any people. do it.
I think it depends on the system that the company is actually using, because some of those cameras actually record locally, and so in order to retrieve it, someone has to physically go and pull the actual card out and pull it off.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I guess, I just,
Yeah.
like, if you're doing a bullying investigation, you have a
Yeah.
timeline and the bus
Right.
company says, well, we need you know, we can't give it to you for 3 days, that kind of stuff, like, we
Sure.
read into that, so I'm just
Yeah.
more
Yeah,
putting
that
that
makes
out there
sense.
to think about.
Anything else on ECAF? I mean, you said this was a subcommittee.
So we'll put it together and have somebody take a peek at it and then.
While I'm thinking about it, Michael, is there like a service level agreement on those cameras? Like, you know, if they were to go down, right, and something happens and then they're expected to work and.
Yeah, so. Well, the system that we're trying to put onto the. Buses is on. So, yeah, we would have.
Oh, I see, yeah.
Um,
You would know if it were broken, like if it wasn't working. I
Right,
guess that's what happens, like if it's expected to work.
yeah, and you need it. You
Yeah,
find out-
yeah,
that's the
find out
wrong
that
time
they
to
had
find
it
out
broken,
it's
yeah. Exactly. That, I guess that was my,
which does happen.
yeah. Not that I imagine we have a lot of it here, but.
Okay,
Thank you.
on to the Health Advisory Committee.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. So, Tim Knight was the Health Advisory Committee, representative. So, in your materials, I put the, regulations around health advisory and then the minutes and the agenda from the first meeting, which was last week. So I've been talking to Amy Keegan, our new, nurse leader. And, she got a really good group together that's, you know, that's meeting, but we do need a school committee representative as a part of that. So I'd ask that someone, volunteer for that. Is 4 meetings a year. And then, either report back to the committee or, you know, however you want to handle that as a committee, but I would ask that someone volunteer for that, then I can let Amy know to add you to the list.
They're during the day, right?
It's in the morning.
Oh, they do
typically.
the day?
It's typically like 7:30 in the morning.
I was gonna say, I'd be happy to do it, that's a bit of a curveball, but,
That's tough for you.
yeah, so. I don't know if
I can do
I
it.
can't during the day.
I can do it
Yeah,
based on that
I
timing
can.
there at 7:30. It doesn't
Okay.
interfere typically with my work. But I don't want to steal it from anyone else who wants it, so I will do it as a.
I nominate you.
Yeah.
I get a
I am
second.
happy to.
Thank you.
7:30 doesn't work.
Now we're at 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's like hard for any teacher, I think.
What's that start time over
I've already started,
7:30.
we are well into our day.
Yeah,
there? Get way behind the times.
staggered.
You need a vote.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, I nominate. Yeah.
a second,
All in favor?
Aye.
aye,
Right, thank you.
Diana.
Congratulations.
All right, FY 27 budget update, Jeff and Michael.
Sure. So Michael and I started our meetings with principals and directors and department chairs. So we usually have about 23 of those. And we just started this week, so we have a full slate tomorrow and then a whole bunch next week and the week after as well. So we're going through that. I mean, I think it's kind of a different tone this year in our budget meetings because we typically our guardrail is typically on 1%, which I think is just really going to be a problem for the district. You know, we certainly need a lot more than that, just to open the doors.
What percentage do we need to open the doors?
What do you think, Michael? To open the doors in August?
Yeah, just if we did nothing but to go till next year, like what are we looking for?
I mean, so we know that the contract is going up above $150,000.
Yeah.
We know that special ed costs are going up 3%.
Mhm.
Utilities are going up 67%. And then the problem is they have negotiated 80% of the budget.
Right.
So that, you know, steps and lanes alone is usually, you know, about 2.5 to 3%. That's
Without a cost of living. So. I mean, you could throw 5% maybe, I don't know. I want to be held to it for the rest of my life, but we're just kind of putting out a number. Either way, it's not 1%. It's definitely not 1% for sure. And then to get back to the conversation we had with a reading pilot. you know, reading pilots typically, when you adopt those initially, can be several $100,000. In that initial adoption, so I don't see how that fits into what we're doing. As far as if we're gonna be at 1%. So, I know that, Steve has reached out and is looking to do a meeting in December with. The three boards, the warrant committee, the select board, and you folks. To just have a conversation of what it looks like. And, I know that. You know, health insurance is a big problem on the town side for sure. I think the unknowns right now are looking at the revenue and what that looks like and what those numbers come in at. So I think that's some of the conversations we need to have, but as far as what we're doing, we have told. The directors and the principals and the department chairs to just give us what you need, like you normally would. And we're gonna build it from there. That's how we do it each year. But I just don't know, especially with some of the staffing needs that. And I haven't met with, Missy hasn't come in yet, but I know she's gonna have that increased group coming in for kindergarten. She's gonna have some needs there. So. You know, I hate to be doom and gloom about it, but that's the number we got, so.
What do our retirements look like?
We do have a few retirements, so that's certainly gonna help us out. We definitely do. So that will be a nice help. We typically hire. We don't hire people right out of college. We typically hire, you know, year 5 or 6 or 7 in the master's level. So we will do some savings, but not if we hire all bachelors coming out of school. Hasn't been our practice ever, so. You know, we've had this conversation for years now. We don't, you know, you don't. Save money by cutting paper clips, right? So we gotta kind of really look at how we're doing things and look at programs and look at. You know, what the benefit of programs are and that kind of, we're gonna need to do that analysis. Like we've never done before, for sure. It's gonna be, we're talking 1%.
Yeah, is 1% the lowest number you've had, like,
Oh, yeah, by far.
by a lot?
Oh,
right?
yeah, by a lot, yeah. Yeah. That's the lowest starting point. I mean, here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right, that's what I
I
mean.
mean, 07, 08 recession, it was worse than that, but. When I was in Renton, but certainly 1% here is the lowest.
I can feel the doom and gloom.
I'm trying not to be doom and gloom. I just, you know, you guys got the email too.
Yeah,
It's not awesome. Not awesome to see. And we got a lot of work ahead of us to make things
right.
work for the kids.
So we'll be having that joint meeting on December 2nd. 7-ish, is that what? we thought?
Yes.
Okay, here?
Yes, I think it's gonna be here.
Here. Mark your calendars.
Yeah.
I have it, I said
think, yeah.
Any
Looks like
questions?
Tuesday.
I think the select board has a meeting at 6 prior.
Yeah.
They had some things they need to do with tax rate, I believe, and then
December 2nd.
the joint meeting would happen after that.
Any other thoughts or questions on the budget?
Doom and gloom, we'll see.
Doom and gloom, I know. I used to give Mike Sullivan a hard time all the time because we had that one meeting with the boards and we used to call it doom and gloom because that's how Mike would always frame his doom and gloom, you know, but we always seem to work it out, but this one doesn't look great.
I did notice that bookworms is on open up, so the parts of it that are open source.
It sure is.
Yes,
Well, actually, a lot of it's open
Yeah, I
source.
was gonna
It's
say.
all the books you have to buy to.
that's our
Support.
illustrative math, similar to
Yeah.
illustrative math.
Mhm.
There's been
Yeah, so
open source
the-
meeting.
A lot of materials you can get open source, but you have to get sets of books.
Yeah.
So the kids can read the books and class sets and all that. That's what it costs.
Okay, all right, bus contract.
Speaking
Okay,
of
like what?
big contract.
Yeah.
Good money.
We can talk about the anomaly we had this year in our bus bidding and all that process.
Did it save us money?
Did it save us money?
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's gonna save money this year. So we had, we went out to bid. And usually you have about, 4 or 5 companies that call the bid. And then you have one bid that come back. So this is 20th year of doing this a row. And in my 20 years, this was, I've never experienced this in the transportation bidding, but we had 43 companies that voted. And we had 3 that actually bid for the contract. And Conley did win the contract. They were the lowest bidder by far. So, you know, we put a few alternates in that bid. We reviewed everything. And I think the final number, I think in year 1, Conley was 143,000 below the second lowest bidder. Excuse me, the lowest bidder, second lowest to Conley was 100. In about 100,000. So what, you know, I did ask all 3 vendors how come cost was so high. And there's different factors that went into it. One of the factors is that we require that within a 3-year contract that our buses are at least that can't be older than 5 years old, which is the safety of the students. So that was one factor, and going out and pricing new buses, cost for a bus, they were telling me, well, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, about 75,000. And now the cost coming in for new buses are ranging between $125,000 to $140,000. And there's only 3 bus vendors currently out there. 2 are located, or one's in Canada, one's in the United States, and then the other one is overseas. So these manufacturers sell to third-party vendors, right? When then bus companies like Conley buy through these third-party vendors to get buses, like Thompson buses is usually, you know, what you see out there. So that the cost for buses has gone up. Same yellow bus, same materials, just the cost has gone way up. So that's driving some of the cost. And then, you know, the insurance is also driving the cost. Health insurance for their employees is driving the cost. The per hourly wages is driving the cost up. As they're having a difficult time in certain communities getting bus drivers. And then there's, you know, they said, you know, other factors such as, you know, gas escalation. So all those factors put together, you know, our contract will be going up close to $150,000 more than what we actually are spending this year, fiscal 26. So what I'm asking tonight is to accept the Conley bus transportation. What we did last time was it's a 3-year contract with a 2-year extension. What we would approve tonight is a 3-year contract. And then in our 3rd year, what we did in the past is I go out, I look at the market, I get you quotes, what the going rate is, and then the school committee will determine if they want to extend that 2-year extension or go back out to bid and see if we will get better pricing. So for tonight, all we need to do is approve a 3-year contract with Conley for years 26 all the way through 2029.
Michael, what percentage does the 150,000 increase over this year?
It's 10%.
10%, yeah.
We've heard stories that are a lot higher than 10% around the area too, so 10%, it is a lot, it sounds like a lot, but we've definitely heard other districts coming out bidding higher than 10%.
Well, the wages and everything, I don't know how much. My initial question is, we said 7 years instead of 5 years, would it drop the price at all? But I'm gonna guess probably not much. So,
Correct. So I think that the bidding process and having free bidders help us. If you're looking at other communities around us who are not receiving free bids, the reason why I'm gonna be honest, are receiving, we received free bids this year is because we have a fleet of 21 buses. You know, so some surrounding communities like Dedham still only have 10 or 11, and some of the bigger transportation companies are not going to bid for a small fleet. It's not worth their time or effort. But because of the number of buses we have, even though we're a small community, the way we're spread out, you know, we need the 2021 buses in order to do the routes. So that's why it was an attractive bid out there, you know, in the public.
We had some of the national.
We had two national companies.
Yeah, Locomotion, with NRT in there.
It was Beacon,
Which is under the auspices of another company, yeah.
So that did help us, a little bit, but.
Fresh my memory, this is the first time I've heard we've had multiple bids, right?
The first time.
Yeah.
For sure.
But you said the first time in 20 years.
First time.
Have,
So,
like,
Yes, it's crazy.
obviously, not the time for this year, but like, has there ever been any conversation or just like looking into purchasing buses? Like, has that been on the radar before, and has someone done that analysis?
So there's a community nearby, that, did that. And they couldn't get the buses in time because it was a 3-year, waiting list on buses. So we just got new buses. They put those bus orders in when they first got the contract with us. So, because they know the timeline. The community that I'm talking about had to lease buses from another company in order to be able to take over the contract from that company. So now they had to pay driver's insurance, they had to pay the other company for the buses that they were using.
And hire mechanics. And
And mechanics,
Yeah.
so they're in the process, because that lease is coming to an end. So I don't know what's going to happen in that community, but it's not as easy as it looks like.
I asked the same,
It's
I asked the
just a
same
huge-
thing,
No, sure.
when I
Yeah.
first got on school
Sure.
committee, I asked the same thing, I'm like,
Curious.
we can find $3 million for the buses, which, you know, 1% doom and gloom, but,
Yeah.
and they're like, everywhere you go, you see and Walton, they need drivers,
Oh, yeah,
and I was like,
yeah.
oh, yeah, if we own the buses, we'd have to do all the things,
Yeah.
and it's just
And
like.
their benefits and everything.
It's just,
Yeah.
I just feel like, I wish there was a way to like reduce the number of buses we need. So many times you see buses driving around town that are like half empty.
So I would say that, now I get that sometimes from people,
Right.
it all depends on what part of the route it's in.
I know, no, that is true.
Yeah,
That is
so it
true.
could have been,
but-
it could have just dropped off all the kids at Memorial and Dale.
Yeah.
And it's on its way to Wheelock, or it could be completely empty and going back to the yard, which has to go downtown.
Yes,
to get
yes,
the
no,
yard.
I know that.
Yeah.
I think it's more like sometimes the middle school and high school routes in the afternoon and
Mm-hmm.
stuff, just right, but I know we, need the buses, it's just sometimes you're like,
If you do it for one route, you get it for two.
yeah,
It's
like,
that shit,
right,
yeah.
like, I'm like,
We can tell you that, but we have the highest rate of students taking transportation, and that's because we're not a neighborhood school.
right.
Because if we were neighborhood schools, we would need the buses.
Mm-hmm.
But about 80%, a little bit higher than 80% of the students
Use the buses.
K through 6.
Yeah, the neighborhood, black.
What,
Yeah.
like, is there a rough percentage of what, of middle school and high school usage?
So middle school, high school is more difficult because it depends on the season. So like in the fall season, the numbers do go down because we have a high percentage of students that participate in athletics. And then in the winter time, because the offerings and their smaller teams, the number of students taking transportation goes up.
In the spring, it's different because kids get their license.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then
so
the
you,
license-
I get it, you need them, it's just like.
Yeah.
only Cram a few more people on each, like 3 people on a seat.
I mean, this,
And
this,
it's-
this board
sometimes
could vote
I
not to
get
bus
what
7
you're
through
saying.
12.
But
And
then
you guys
some-
can do that.
Yeah, but sometimes if you're trying to get.
I'm not advocating for that at all. I'm just saying you could. You don't have to bus kids 7 through 12 legally.
Yeah.
You don't legally,
Yeah.
but when you're trying to get
I think it's
students
a bad idea,
home
but yeah.
within 20 to 30 minutes. And you start reducing the number of buses from middle, and now you're increasing the time.
Yes,
students on
yes.
the Bus,
No.
because of just the way that you, I mean. you have
Yes,
go
to get people,
From Norfolk to Dover line,
Yep.
sometimes like the Walpole line on this end. And very nice thing.
Did the school start times create an increase in a need for like more buses out of curiosity in terms of a number? No, okay.
So the ridership is the same.
Yeah, I didn't know if we needed it in terms of just making times, because I know that it was a little tight. I don't know if like an extra bus was like to accommodate that at all.
Motion to approve the contract for Michael J. Conley.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
There we go.
Like, could you manage buses and, no, I'm just kidding. I see Michael quit.
Oh my, okay, so on to town strategic goals. So I hope you saw the email. So the select board is in the process of updating their strategic goals. They, I think, had some workshops or meetings in June, which produced the document that they shared. And so they're now at a point where they're going to solicit comments and questions and input from community members, citizens, boards, commissions, committees. They're going to be holding a public hearing on the goals on November 18th. As individuals, we have the option to either attend that meeting and voice any favor or concerns about anything. And then or you can send an email to their town goals thing. What I wanted us to look at tonight from the town goals standpoint was specifically number 3, I think it was. So again, if you have thoughts on 1, 2, or 4, and you wanted to like send them information as a citizen, you're welcome to do that. Part 3 included, sorry, I'm trying to find my notes. Part 3 included a lot of youth sponsored activities, and I thought it was really great for them to incorporate supporting the youth and supporting under strategy. It specifically says support the school committee and the superintendent to maintain and improve the school system's solid academic performance, supporting the cultural, physical, emotional, civic development of our children and young adults. Like, I really appreciated them doing that. So I guess my thoughts were, if we can look at number 3 as a group and decide if we wanted to give any feedback on any parts of it. And then we can decide how we want to go from there, if there's any feedback we wanted to give. So did you guys have a chance to look at that at all?
I did. And one of my concerns, well, maybe not concern, is I think it's like overreaching or stepping. Like, one of the things is expand the club offerings at the high school focused on promoting healthy behaviors. Like, I just don't know why that's in the strategic town goals, when I think that's a school goal potentially, and we're already doing a lot. So I just think that it's in the wrong place. So I have like a question about why they would put that there. I definitely think it's a overreach. So that was one that I thought was a call out for me that didn't belong here.
Yeah, I thought that was a little odd as well, especially because Robert reported in his update that they were at a all-time high for clubs, right?
Right, yes.
They're at an all-time club high right now. So I guess I was wondering as well if there was, did somebody already evaluate the clubs there to see that there was something missing, right?
Yeah, I was a little surprised by it too, especially when they have opportunities through the library program to offer expanded programs, which I feel like could be expanded to address high school level. And because I see it in other towns. In fact, we go to other towns to take advantage of that program. So the fact that they were targeting high school as well, I thought that was.
I think they were using public comment and public feedback from their visioning sessions they had. I think that's what they did, and they just put it in here as part of, that's my guess.
Yeah.
That was something that they heard at their meeting.
But if they put it in here, to me, that means you like that idea. Like, I don't put stuff that like random people send me if we didn't want to put it in.
No, I hear you.
Like,
I think that's where it came from, I believe.
the other one I thought I would want more clarity on too is create a youth advisory council to include youth input on town policies and programs. Want to really be clear that that youth advisory council doesn't overlap with like some of the stuff that Robert and others are already doing at the high school and getting that input, because then you have like 2 different people collecting the information, and I think there could be a lot of misinterpretation or like, right, I feel like I'd want to be very clear, like, are you giving input on which town policies and programs?
Mm-hmm.
Because again, I just think you might create sort of these 2 different groups and then competing narratives.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I think I kind of see some of the approach, like what are the internships gonna do?
Yeah.
Assuming those are gonna be around paid internships and some in the town hall.
Actually, they're already doing internships at town hall, so they're pretty good for kids.
You know,
They've had our kids in there, so that was over the summer.
that's great.
Yeah, it's been good.
And then the other question I had was around grant monies for peer leadership. Is that what I saw?
Oh, yeah, leadership prevention.
Just kind of when you're using the term grant monies, that kind of hinges the whole action item on a grant. So I guess I don't know. But definitely in drafty format. And then of course,
Yeah, the last one.
of course, the last one
Yeah.
stood right out.
Yeah.
That I thought was interesting, especially with the feedback that we got at the Medfield Day table. We heard a lot of conversation about a lot of hearsay rumor, though, that Parks and Rec wants it to go on their own. And so I think that it would be, this is not on our committee, of course, but I think there needs to be some solid conversation between the Parks and Rec Commission and SBC on the direction of that, because rumors are saying one thing, and I think it's great planning, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't sound like there's consensus nor any plan, and it reeks just of what happened the last time through the last SBC process, where there was lots of hearsay, and I understand now, hindsight, that there was some leadership trouble at Parks and Rec, obviously. But again, I think it just needs to be much more organized, and I'm kind of hoping that the Board of Selectmen might take the lead and say there needs to be some collaboration, representation, perhaps even to have that conversation before even throwing this out.
I thought it was odd that it was stuck under the SBC, right? Like, I feel like Parks and Rec, I think Parks and Rec has a very big need. And I think they're, a really great organization that does a lot for our community, but I also feel like they deserve to be in their own space and have their own process and not be lumped under a project that's already so far in you know what I mean, like where we are, right? It just seems a little kind of like thrown in there and a little ambiguous. And I think that each project would be so complex that to have this as with such little information and so much ambiguity lumped under the SBC like this, just makes me uncomfortable.
I think it's doing a disservice. I think we already didn't get a new school and now we're trying to get one. And I think by them putting it here, it puts the project at risk. And I think should not be here. And I think Parks and Rec does a ton for the community, but it's also not just for school age kids.
Right.
It is a much bigger program. And I think it deserves its own building. And it's not like this should be a surprise to anyone that the Parks and Rec building needed to be redone. The town has known this for a very long time. So the fact that it was ignored and now to try to lump it into something else, I think it's.
And I think there's been quite a bit of speculation around what needs to be done in that existing building as well, back and forth, and the fact that it was the request that they misrequest. The request wasn't adequate to get them a temporary building. So, I just feel like that there's definitely some additional questions around that. Yes, it was a surprise to see that there without a conversation.
Yeah, that's fair. So I think what we'd be looking at next steps are, I talked to Brittany, who's the assistant town administrator, and she said that if we, as the five of us, had some semblance of consensus on where we wanted to give some feedback, we could have one of us try to put it together and then submit it to the town goals thing. So if you guys are okay with that, if we are in a consensus on things that we would like either, I guess, more information on or more thought around, I'm happy to try to put that together, assuming that we're in a space right now with some of the stuff that just came out that we do all feel like these are kind of how we think about this, right? So I feel like I heard that expanding the club offerings was maybe potentially confusing.
I think it just doesn't belong in the townwide goals. I think that is a school goal.
Yeah.
And that's something that the school sort of owns and decides, not for select board to talk
Wait, which
about
one?
clubs.
Sorry. Oh, clubs.
Clubs.
Yeah,
Club
so-
offerings of high school. Mhm.
Even one we just didn't talk about for a second, but when they talk about like the recreational spaces and stuff, like I know Medfield use basketball, we have to rent places in another town and we have Map and Dale, like that one seems kind of. I don't know a nice word to say, but like we are, like our stuff is being used all, like our gyms are used and like I'm leaving from here to go to. Basketball practice till 9 o'clock and then I have to go to the Aggie on another day and like everything's jammed up, right? Like to say we're gonna.
What was
Was
I-
it coordinate the
underutilized.
availability of
I agree.
recreationalized sports for youth?
Underutilized available.
Underutilized,
space.
like we're at our
Where
max
is the
capacity.
underutilized available
Yeah,
space?
yeah,
Yes.
so. I
Right,
mean,
and there isn't any.
sorry, that's like
So,
the only one we didn't talk
but I-
about. I
yeah.
think that one's.
but I think we need more
Is
information
there
or
a
clarity.
subcommittee that put this together? I guess that's,
That's a good question. How did they?
yeah, I guess that's, that'd be,
I thought there was, that they had put together, they had some, sessions with anyone from the community that wanted to show up at town hall. They had several sessions there to gather the information. They accepted written, information as well. And they just, I think they put it together at that
Gotcha.
time. So that's why I thought that some of this might have just appeared on something that someone had brought forward.
gotcha.
But I would have thought that they would have spent time in that.
They did do something. I mean, I think they had a meeting too, went through it, and then they decided what was gonna be on there, what was gonna be on there. That's my.
Because one of the other outcomes that was addressed was baseball and basketball came to talk about being at the table because they are so stretched thin about having space. And it came up in the last Dale planning,
It did.
that about more gym space.
Space,
Yeah,
yeah, we
gym
don't have
space,
gym,
like they
yeah.
wanted to see to add an extra half a gym.
That's what
Did
we
it
had,
have
a
another
full-size gym in that
Yeah.
plan, and some of that wasn't gonna be reimbursed for.
Yeah.
MSBA, but it was a community
Right.
need that they
Right.
said we're sick of
Right.
driving all over the place, we wanna have that in our own town, so.
So, yes, Michelle, I'm sure you can put the document together for all of these things.
But so for the expanding the clubs, your thought right now is it shouldn't be in there. at all.
I personally don't think it should be in there at all. I think that there is more clubs than like we've ever had at the high school. And if there is a club that's not being addressed, then that's not a school's problem to solve for.
Maybe it's rewording it, like to remove high school, but like we can help inform it, right?
Yeah.
And like, and some of our high schoolers can help run those programs in other parts
It's
of
like
the
the youth
town.
opportunities versus
Yeah.
clubs, you know, you just.
I just
providing
don't,
a
yes, and I don't think it should say like, whatever it says, hold on.
Well, I think part of it too, we might be reading it where it says expand the club offerings, but it does say focus on healthy behaviors.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like their emphasis might be on that second part and not the first part. And like maybe there's a space for it at the library instead of high school.
Yeah,
But just there might be a good message, there might be an opportunity there to promote healthy behaviors. Not so much on the clubs that we know are,
Maybe,
there's
and-
more than there ever have been.
yeah, and I think the word at the high school is taken out then.
Yeah.
It's like because also when you put this, like, who's running this? Who's
Right.
responsible for
Yeah.
this? Like, there's no,
I wonder if this is just really drafty and that.
Yeah.
well, I just feel like
Yeah.
you shouldn't send something out that's drafty.
Yeah,
Well,
fair
I
enough.
did ask that, I asked, like, what level would it be? You know, how close is this to final format? And the feedback I was given is that they will make adjustments, but this is kind of what they're working.
I
with
wonder
right
if they
now.
have some sort of like plan or program that they're looking at and they're just calling it that, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, because you said it, the promoting healthy behaviors is like, it feels like there's
But it
an
says-
idea.
But it says
At the high
at the high school.
Yeah.
So that is like without, and I also think without consulting or talking to Robert, I don't think it belongs in here.
Okay. So remove or reword.
Maybe some wordsmithing there. for sure.
Yeah.
I personally think we will.
And I think some more clarification on the SBC thing. Obviously.
Yes.
I think,
yes.
I mean, again, I guess my proposal there would be like, they should be separate.
Mhm.
Right?
I-
Parks and Rec deserves, like, Parks and Rec deserves their own process.
Yes,
And I feel like the SBC, like, we've done a lot to engage the community and build public trust, and it just feels.
I get what they're I 100% know where they're coming from, but that unfortunately, I kind of feel like to your point, that ship has kind of sailed.
Yeah,
And I don't deny that they need a space.
right.
And I just, I mean, I'll be at that meeting or whatever, but I think that I want a question about is. Didn't they get offered a free park and rec place that this?
Yes.
person was
What's
gonna
going on
come in
with
and
the-
build, like,
I'm
what
sorry,
happened with all that?
First will be where they were gonna build them.
I think
space
that's being
for free.
reconsidered from what I heard. Also, Medfield Day was great, good conversation, I gotta tell you, so my understanding was that it was also being reconsidered. But I don't know if that actually gives them a Parks and Rec center, but it does give them basketball space and.
I think there's basketball space, and then included in that proposal was that they were gonna build a multi-million-dollar Parks and Rec
Yeah,
facility for the town as part of the project. And it was gonna be included in
that was
it,
the original
and
pitch.
yeah, so I don't understand how we,
No,
turn that
no
away.
ice though. Sorry if you like hockey.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just like.
I was gonna say, do you have everything we need for that? Cause I'd also like to talk about 4.
Oh, from us as a school committee?
Well, a little bit.
Okay.
I mean, I will do it as a private citizen too, that lives in this town. Well, no, I just feel like 4 is very important on the retention of the unique character and identity of our town. But when we're being asked to work with a 1% budget and you're not willing to think about other ways to bring money into the town, I think you're being fiscally unresponsible. Like, if we just keep everything as it is and we live like it's 1965 and like we can't touch any of the open land ever.
But they did, I think,
Like-
under number 1, say that they wanted to,
There's support, protect, and maintain open space. To enhance recreational opportunities and maintain the open character of the
under
town.
number 1, though, it says reduce reliance on residential tax base for revenues by either diversifying the tax base or building revenue positive housing or identifying additional sources of non-tax revenue for the town.
Right, which that, but when you look at number 4, it's sort
Right.
of in complete opposition of that.
Yeah, I
alongside.
agree.
So
Yeah.
that's where I worry about, like, it's saying support, protect, and maintain. And we
Yeah.
put the word maintain, it means don't change anything.
Right.
And that's where I worry about that. Maybe we, like, with the project on parcel B, to
Yeah.
put, to take a little bit of it to put a basketball, that could bring in tax revenue for the
Yeah.
town when we're going to be in a short fall, and I don't see how that changes going forward. So I guess I would just want to think about, we want to keep some open space and we want to keep Medfield's character, but I think we also have to be realistic about revenue streams
Okay.
to be able to support the schools.
Okay.
But if that is not an agreement, that is could be a one-off opinion, but I do worry about that sort of
I
is.
think it's just input, right?
Yes.
So to
Yeah.
continue to expand,
Yes.
I would say that it requires a lot of business. To generate the types of taxes, the offsets.
Yes, it does, but even a little helps more than
Yeah.
doing nothing, right? Like, if we just continue to do
I'm actually
nothing.
curious what successful businesses, I would say this sports complex is definitely gonna be something that's successful.
Yes, well, exactly, and that, and that's something that I think a lot of people in town are asking for,
Somehow
or
I
needing.
missed that they build the center for you.
Yes.
It's the memo on that.
So I guess from a next step standpoint, and like how we get this to be submitted, my thought was I can try to put this together, I can like listen to what we said and try to put it together. Email it to you guys, and then you can each give feedback back to me on parts that you do or don't agree with. And then the closest we can get to consensus, and I guess my thought, because there is 5 of us, is that we would stay a little bit more high level. And then if we wanted to write individual letters on our behalf, we can do that to go more deep if we have lots and lots. I haven't sent it yet, but I did. Like Diana was just saying, I did write my own letter already, so that will be a little bit different, I think, than in regards to like detail.
Well, and is there a timeline on this plan? Is this a 5-year plan? Because it just says town goals.
My understanding is that it is a potential 5-year plan, but that is a good question as well.
So that's, some of these are nice.
Yeah.
Very nice, but, and I admit, the character and everything, I agree with most of that, so. But I intend to be there just to listen.
Okay,
Yeah.
so do you guys, like, do we want to submit feedback as a group? Are we comfortable with me trying to put something together and getting?
I am.
good.
Yes,
yeah.
yes, okay. Do we have anything else to add, or we'll just kind of go from what we just discussed from there? Okay, all right,
I'll say besides the doom and gloom, by the way, I should comment is that the state revenues came in up unexpectedly this past quarter, so what was it?
okay.
well, I mean, I think that goes to a bigger conversation around the timing of our budget and when chapter 70 comes to town, right?
Correct.
So you saw what happened last year.
Yep.
So we had our budget passed and it was all wonderful. And then, weeks later, chapter 70 comes with a big increase that goes right to the town and not to us, right? So, and it's not just Medfield it's happening to a lot of towns, so, and districts, so it's something that I know our job will is talking about.
Particularly in our regional district, but yes, it's a little easier for me.
Okay, any other items we're posting on November 4th?
I don't have any of that, sure.
Okay. On to old business, policies, the first reading of policy IKF and IKFE. Policy people.
Yes.
You wanted to, we had our meeting, the other day, just going over, some of the actual policy that was part of the informational. We did make one change, which was in your materials in red, where, it did say will before we change it to may. And that was a lot of feedback we got from the collaboratives in our job alike, where the collaboratives asked us to change that because it may be, a course, end of course assessment, but it may be something else. It could be a portfolio for a child or something like that, and that will like really pigeonhole the special ed placements in that. So
Yeah.
We thought that was a good change that we talked about. Everything else I think was pretty
Everything else
standard.
was straight on. The only questions that were relayed, that I had were just around math core and the number of years of math.
Right.
And I think we said 99, 100%.
It's 100% of 26, yeah. It's typically like 95 to 100%.
And that's only just
Take
because
4 years of math.
4-year schools commonly ask for look for 4 years of math. And,
Right.
a lot of things are shifting that arena as well. So,
Mhm.
but that was it. Yeah, that's all the report.
Any questions or comments on that?
Are we concerned at all that like it is harder to pass? Like this says they're passing grade in both courses and final assessment as well as full credit in math, like it is, I imagine, much harder to do that in Medfield than it is to pass an MCAS. Are we worried? I don't know how to,
So that's what is existing, is that regulatory requirement is that now as well, and it has been for many, many years, even before they get rid of FCAS.
in addition to MCAS.
Yeah, so we've had that in place.
Okay,
Yeah,
The MCAS was the base, and then you had these requirements as well.
yeah,
okay,
yeah. That's why they broke them up into two policies, because the state said you have to redo your graduation and you have to determine what the competency determination is going to be at the end of 10th grade,
right,
because MCAS is gone. And as I said in the policy subcommittee meeting, I anticipate this committee will need to vote on something again the following year, because the governor has her committee that's going through and doing this.
right,
And if you saw the news, one of the controversial issues that's there is that the draft came out of that has end of course assessments developed by the state and standardized.
right.
So essentially, are you breaking up MCAS into 5 different tests? Is that what you're doing now? So
Right.
that's what people were saying. So it's a way, I guess, a way around what was voted on by the state, but that got a lot of pushback, I know, on the draft form. So we'll see where it all ends up, but I believe that we'll have to vote on something else again going forward. This is just for the class of 26. I believe on 27 going forward, there'll be a whole different set. Yeah.
You said something, did I hear you say 95 or 98 to 100% take 4 years of math?
Yes,
100%. Yeah, this year.
This year it was 100.
100 was this year. Yeah, we have a small subset of kids that aren't every year that typically lean toward other activities and do 3 years and not the 4th year. They might do other electives. Typically, if involved in art and theater, they might do something around that. And because they've already started down that track and they're juniors and seniors, we didn't want to change it in a way that put those kids at a disadvantage and have them trying to scramble it to get a 4th year when they didn't anticipate doing that anyway for some of those kids. So it didn't make a lot of sense for kids. If we talked about it in the subcommittee, does it make sense to say, okay, we're going to do the 4th year of mathematics, starting with a class of 28 or 29, which we can still do, but this is really just for the class of 26.
Yeah, even, and then the aspects to some of the other opportunities that we have as well that fit, whatever it's computer science, which
Math core, sorry. I
it
thought
does
I-
not fit with math.
That-
Square. Yeah.
I'm just making.
Yeah,
sure.
that was my concern. I brought
Okay.
up that.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
you brought up.
Math Square is 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
okay,
math scores
that's-
in 4 years.
Yeah, okay, just making sure.
But I haven't seen
Yeah,
a
not a
portion of math
requirement, but-
score in a really long time.
Yeah.
So. That's also part of it, being realistic too.
Reinforce it, it's hard.
It is.
All right, any other, no, good questions or comments? Okay, so we will have that as a second reading.
Second reading at the next meeting.
Okay,
Mhm.
all right, mobile phone, social media task force update.
so we had our first meeting. There are 4 groups. There's parent support and community norms, which overlap a little bit. Then there's one looking at the handbook and policies and school curricula and what we can do in terms of, because this group, and people know even from the last meeting, I go a lot to the negative in the social media, but obviously there's AI and useful parts of technology too. The biggest one, which I'm gonna say in every one of these meetings, is the waituntil8th.org pledge. You go on there. Again, now between K and 7th grade, I think the numbers are between 10 and 22% of the classes. Parents have signed up for a pledge to not purchase a cell phone for their child until after 8th grade. So it is no longer everyone has one. And again, this is just me now sitting here because I have a microphone. I'm very passionate about this, but like the numbers are not nobody anymore. Like
Right.
it is at least 10% in everyone from kindergarten to 7th grade. So if you're interested, go to waituntil8th.org. Find me. I live at 139 Green Street. We can talk about it. But that is my group, and I'm in the community norms group, so I'm focused there. But the curriculum, handbook, and policies, those will just be a little bit slower. We know we have changed our policies. We've heard student feedback on that stuff. We still are wondering to see what the state might do with different things there as well.
Right.
And then the screenagers stuff, do you want
So,
to
yeah, we're
speak to
looking
that?
at doing screenagers, which we've shown the first 2 screenagers, and it was more toward middle and high school kids, but the third one that just came out is really geared toward elementary students and the use of their phones. So we're looking at doing that in January. I know that I think KP is actually doing it this week or next week. So someone around here is doing it.
I think it is KP.
Yeah, I think it's so we're looking at doing that in January. We tried to Darcy and I were looking at dates and how we could try to figure that out. There's not anything going on. We're looking at a Monday night in January. We're trying to figure that out. And then it's not an expensive one. It's $400. So we're gonna meet with PTO and those folks to kind of see if we can get sponsorship on that, like we have in the other.
It'll just be like an open viewing invite in the
Yeah.
auditorium.
Yeah.
It's pretty locked down, because obviously, $400, isn't a ton for like a present for something like this.
Right.
But there also are no workarounds, because people,
Yeah.
you can't find it on, YouTube or anything. It's very well done. I saw the first one like 10 or 15 years ago, and
Mhm.
whenever it came out, it scared me then. So this would be good to see how it's affecting the younger population that has been on screens a lot more than they were 10 or 15 years ago.
Yeah, the first time I'm sorry,
How long is the film?
I think it's 2 hours.
Yeah, it's like
This
So-
one is too?
I think that is, yeah. So we ended up doing the first one. We showed it to parents at night, and the next day we had all the middle school kids see it and all the high school kids see it. So that was right around when iPads are first coming out with middle school, and there was all concerns from parents on that. So we wanted to get that information out there and have them have some really good conversation about that. And it was really well attended, if I remember. It was pretty good. So we're looking for the same thing and really try to focus in on elementary parents too, to make sure they can see that, and then really try to steer them to the way to eat, for sure. I mean, those numbers are great though. I mean, getting 10 to 20% is really awesome.
Yeah, and that was just through like one big push in the spring,
Yeah,
so we're
right.
working together, we'll find another way to push it out, put it in, Facebook, local newsletters, whatever. But a couple more big pushes,
Mhm,
and we might get to a number that we'd be pretty proud of, I'd
Right.
say, as a community, so.
For sure.
To promote the social well-being, it could go in these goals we just reviewed.
Mhm,
Yes,
That would be something that isn't just school related, it's the health of
Right, that's.
children in our community,
Sure.
actually.
And I think that's come up around being at somebody on this committee brought it up around a community initiative, not just a
Right.
school initiative,
Right,
right? Community norms. Maybe it was you, Will.
oh, community norms is one of
That's
the
one of the
groups
groups,
of the
yeah.
task.
Oh,
but
right.
in
force,
those
yeah.
goals, right,
Yeah,
it is
you're right.
about
Yeah.
that is something that
Yeah,
actually impacts.
so that could be
like,
part of
health.
town
right?
community goals, so
Yeah.
maybe adding
Add
that
that
is
in.
one of
Yes.
That's a really good idea.
Like, that's where I think that could be really
Yeah.
impactful to get more people aware of it.
Excellent, yeah.
And the community at large, right, supporting that
Yes,
around our schools and. I mean, not just, around the town, so.
So because you guys met once or twice so far this year?
Once, we just met last week.
We just did our schedule for the next 4 months, so to.
have you had drop off in attendance from people who are,
Oh, like 1 or 2, but we had
That's it.
one.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
most
great.
people came back. Nat
That's
sent
great.
the message,
Kids
a
all
month
came back.
ago.
Great.
that's great, well, yeah, I just wasn't sure, if, like,
Yeah.
Yeah, but we'll meet, it's once a month, basically, we meet. from now until next May.
Right.
So when you guys met at your last meeting, knowing that you've been meeting for a while now, like, did you establish like what the end goal is for this year in regards to
So what
action items?
we tried to do was, let everyone catch up, you know, and kind of reorient themselves to what they were working on. And then they had time to work on that as a working session here and then kind of report out when they, at the end. So,
Okay.
I mean, I think that's, I know that's one of the ones that Nat and I have been talking about because I like a
Right,
goal at the end, you know. Sometimes Nat doesn't, so we're gonna work for that. I think Mary Brule is gonna be the other co-chair, so she stepped
Okay.
forward.
I guess Holly retired, she was right.
Yeah, because Holly retired, so
But
Mary's gonna be at the next meeting.
yeah, I think at our next meeting, it's like a long and short-term goals
Yeah.
kind of thing, and again, it's. You know, it's a huge issue that there's no end to, but,
Right.
you know, the policies and curriculum, people are seeing where because we already do some education around it.
Mhm.
I think Wayfinder has a lot of good stuff. We just adopted that, so I think we'll see implementation by teachers with the middle school and high school. There'll be good lessons in, what do we call it? Advisory? Sorry, what do we call it? Are they
That
advisories?
starts next week, so.
So anything we
Wayfinder.
could. Anything we can do with the education piece, you know, kind of short-term and long-term, right? Like Wayfinder, we can get some in this year, and then maybe what are we trying to do, like, going forward as well?
okay, on to the SBC. So we toured Minus yesterday, were you there?
I guess not.
Sam, would you like to tell us about Minus?
Sure, we took a tour yesterday, at the Minus Elementary School in Ashland, so that was built in 23. I'd be remiss if I didn't add that they were on the exact same path as us.
They were.
We were kind of working together on that, so we got a chance to see that one, and a lot of really good features that I thought gave the SBC members some ideas. Aside, you know, different from what we saw at in Westwood at Pine Hill. 645 student elementary school that was built on the same parcel of land at the former elementary school, but just behind it. So that was one of the reasons why I wanted to go there as well, to see that that can happen, right? And Jim Adams, a really good friend of mine, who's superintendent there, told the story of how the kids stayed in the existing school the entire time construction was on. And the school was built behind them. And then when it was time, they moved in February vacation, the kids walked across and they all came in, everything was put in there. And the kids were in the new school the entire time they were demoing the old school. So it can work. It doesn't have to be modular classrooms and millions of dollars spent. You can do it this way. So I think that was an important piece for me to kind of, for them to see that. And they had some really nice features that we didn't have in our other rendition. I mean, they had this thing that outside classroom, it's actually on the roof, on the second floor roof where kids can walk out, and there's 2 egresses, but it's a really cool spot where kids can do work out there as opposed to just always being on the ground. But it was a super thoughtful building. It was very much like what we had talked about, some of the features with, especially like the band room and the practice areas and the soundproofing that goes with that. And they did the double gymnasium so that they had the same issue we have with, you know, families using the gymnasium after school and teams and that stuff. So they wanted to have a really essentially high school size gym that's there, which because their enrollment was over I think it's 645. They actually got reimbursed for the whole portion of the gym, where we wouldn't on the last project, we wouldn't on this project either, but I still think when that time comes, people have to really push that because the extra space is certainly needed in this community. I know we heard that loud and clear last time, but we're sick of driving to Wellesley and everywhere else to basketball practice. Let's have it here. So that was a good feature for everyone to see. That was a nice big gym, just like Westwood did the same thing. They put a really big gym in there. Classrooms were, the classroom furniture people really liked because they were different. It was, you know, you could definitely arrange them in ways that I thought that were really useful for our kids and for our teachers. They would love that. They had some large group areas in the pods that teachers could bring their classes out and have conversations. They could work in projects, 2 or 3 classes at a time. That's how big the area was. So that was really neat to see. It was a lot of features like the one that we went to in Harvard that our former architect had built. And Steve and I had gone out there and other members of SBC to kind of see what that looked like. There's a lot of good spaces for teachers to work with kids outside the classroom, which is something that we think is really important. So yeah, I think overall it was great. It was really good for everyone to see a different building and kind of compare and contrast what they saw last month at Pine Hill in Westwood. And I think we'll probably, before this is all over, see a few more elementary schools, so.
Was there any overlap from Westwood and Ashland in regards to who they used for architect, OPM design, anything like that, or were these?
I believe the OPM was the same,
Okay,
yeah, I think,
Compass.
I think Vertex was on both.
Vertex, yeah.
Yeah.
I think we knew someone who.
We
maybe
certainly did.
It would be nice to have them involved.
Certainly did. Jeff D'Amico, who's one of our parents here, actually went yesterday because he was the OPM on that job and he helped with a tour. And gave us some really good background and flavor of like what certain areas of what was the thought behind this and why they did that. So it was great having him there to do that and present the different, Jim was the educational side and Jeff was really the side of like why we did this construction. It just makes a lot of sense. Like we took 3 feet off the building on this side and made this corridor smaller because we had to stay within budget. Just neat things that they got to see, the SBC got to see that, as you go through the process that you have to do.
Right.
The value engineering of reducing costs and that kind of stuff. So, yeah, Jeff was a great help yesterday.
and then we still haven't heard back yet.
You haven't, although I did speak with MSBA this afternoon. They are in the final stages of our enrollment letter after we had the meeting with them last time. As they characterized it, the final look over. And they did confirm that we are still on board on target for the December meeting at MSBA,
Okay.
which is great. Still, that puts us a couple of months ahead. That's great. I suspect we'll get the letter soon.
Any questions? All right, on to community engagement and communication. So one of the things that I had, we tabled this from last time. So I know it's been a minute, but do we have any feedback from tonight's open house? Where we set up our table, trying to talk to people, stuff like that. Thoughts? Comments?
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead. I was like, I think it's important to be there, but I was at the high school one and like, not a lot of interest in talking to us.
Yeah,
Like, so I feel like it's like one of those things that like, it's nice that we're there, but literally, actually no one. The only people I talked to wasn't about that because
Yeah.
I knew them,
Just see your
like to
friends.
chat.
Yeah.
So I really, like,
I think it's a visibility thing though, right? mean,
I do
it's-
like,
yeah.
so I like it for the visibility and I
Right.
think we should continue to do it. Because you want to be there and be present in case someone does.
Right.
But at the high school, like,
Yeah, maybe we could just focus on, because I did the middle school one, I guess I did when Dill, I think, whatever, one of the grades I was there. I said what's up to my friends or whatever, but at Dale, like a couple, 3 or 4, but not a ton, but people came up to me and a couple were like, what is the school committee? So, it was cool. Again, not huge numbers, but visibility and being there and answer a couple questions. But yeah, maybe middle and high school, but sorry, are we talking like do it in the future or just
Just
feedback?
general
It-
feedback.
Yeah, it
right?
was,
Like,
so-
did people talk to you? Did you just stand there?
Yeah,
like,
most of my
doing
time was
stuff?
just talking to old friends that I
Yeah.
don't see anymore.
Mhm.
But it could- like
Yeah.
3 or 4 people that came in were like, what's going on? Oh, what do you do? And,
and I think if we do it, like I ended up leaving right after like the first hour. I think that's
Yeah.
okay. I think it was
Oh,
good to
yeah,
be there
for
when
sure.
people walk in, but like also like, I don't think you need to stay to the very end. Cause
Right.
you see everyone passing by. And that's fine. And when I did it, same thing last year, I think I did Dale and I had probably 3 or 4 people. And
and
then
they do a
Blake.
staggered thing though. So you're
Yes,
stuck there all
exactly.
night.
So
I mean,
you
you
are
get to be
more,
there
you
all
are
night.
more stuck there. Whereas at the high
There was a little
school,
bit of competition
Yeah.
as well because Parent Square was there and I saw lots of people going to Parent Square.
Yeah.
Having conversations with trying to get up and running. So I think that maybe that had something to do
right,
as
and at the
well.
high school, I don't think Parent Square got a lot of conversation.
They did not.
Right, because
No.
I think probably if you had a younger child, you probably, because I think the high school one was later in the month too.
Okay.
But again, I think it's a visibility thing and it's
Yeah.
nice that we're there. And I think it's nice that we're like supporting and even supporting, I guess, the teachers and
Right.
the administration who
Yeah.
also has to be there at night. So I think we should keep doing it, although it doesn't have great necessarily. Yeah.
Okay.
I think accessibility is.
Yeah.
Any org updates? PTOs, et cetera?
K-8 met Tuesday night. There's a lot of great things happening that they shared at the school. Memorial has a ton of parent involvement. They packed the teacher's room for their meeting, so they were really bragging about that. Everyone else is a little jealous. But yeah, they volunteers and donations and things like that are definitely down overall. So there were conversations just about ways to strategize and just that's kind of what everyone's seeing. So there were some just conversations about different things to fundraise or like what they can focus on next year and things like that. But overall, things seem to be sort of up and moving, and the PTOs are pretty well established, at least at the schools at the KD meeting.
Unfortunately, the high school is tough because they meet during the day, and getting schedules also difficult, so. But superintendent's parent advisory meeting was very spirited yesterday, so. Let's say, so is that an accurate description of spirited, spirited? So, but outside of that, just some of the typical concerns, but I think we heard earlier tonight.
Okay.
Yeah. But it was a very good presentation about our successful MCAT scores,
Right, which you would
K to
have
12.
seen this evening, but you'll see it.
In December.
Yes, and that's okay, particularly at the middle school, actually, so what happened, so.
Okay.
I was just gonna say, do we have to move anything now? And well, don't have the agenda for December, but like now we're adding 2 things from tonight, like.
Yeah, we have our agenda meeting over with that.
Yes, exactly. I'm just saying this pushes out potentially some other stuff.
Anything on your end, Will?
No.
Hillary, you have an update?
It's not really much going on at the high school. We have a can drive that we're doing, so we're trying to get that kind of more into the community. So we're gonna be putting boxes hopefully at some local businesses to kind of get more cans and get the word out about it. So that's what student council's doing, and the flexes will be having kind of a little competition about it. So that's kind of.
We missed the opportunity to get your feedback about the town's plan. And what's your opinion on the town trying to get more clubs, I guess, or activities outside the schools, even though they said the high school, but what do you think of our plan to like other areas of the town?
I think at the high school, there's a lot. I think there's like over 50.
Yeah, so there's over 50.
Yes.
And now people, like, I'm sure there's a lot of people who are already in many clubs, so I don't know if adding additional clubs is something that'll be beneficial, because there is a lot of like diversity with like clubs and different ranges of that. And also with activities after school, I do think that sports and clubs take up majority of the time. So I think it has to be kind of
Like weekends or something?
yeah, either weekends or just placed at specific times to make sure that students have time for everything.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Informational items, we have the NASDAQ enrollment projection
Right.
report.
Right, so we have a fall and a spring projection report. You'll see that it's still consistent with that larger group coming in for kindergarten next year, so. That hasn't changed yet.
Okay.
Waiting for it to change, it hasn't changed yet. It's still
They are
there.
here.
They are here.
They are here, yes. All right, future agenda items, we have AI guidelines, superintendent goals, school committee goals. Does anyone have anything else?
Adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great.